As always, thank you for being with us. Remember, we'll always be fair and balanced. Follow us at Instagram, on Twitter, at Sean Hannity. We hope you have a great weekend. We will see you back on Monday. Don't forget, Laura Ingraham will be back on Monday as well. Have a great weekend.
Good evening from New York City. I'm Pete Hegseth in tonight for Laura Ingraham, and this is the Ingraham Angle. Don't worry, Laura's going to be back on Monday for sure. It's a big news night, and we've got you covered from coast to coast. President Trump today making a bold move against Russia. But will the left ever give him credit? We're going to have a debate about that. Plus, Michelle Obama took a cheap shot at President Trump last night. Is she plotting her own White House run? We'll analyze that situation as well. And the Department of Justice is still accused of slow-walking documents related to the Hillary Clinton email case to Congress. What do they have to hide? A member of the House Judiciary Committee will be here to explain. But first, Democrats plotting to defy our commander-in-chief. President Trump sending up to 4,000 National Guard troops to the border. That's about a brigade size. But some Democratic governors say they'll refuse to allow troops from their states to partake in the plan. Fox News correspondent Jillian Turner is here with more. Good evening, Jillian.
Hey, Pete. So in the wake of President Trump's decision to dispatch National Guard troops to secure the southern border, the Pentagon's now announced they're creating a special border security cell of their own. The cell's official mission? Backing up Border Patrol agents, according to the Secretary of Defense.
We're looking at how we can best provide the support to the Department of Homeland Security, and we'll figure it out. It'll be consistent with law and the spirit of Congress, no problem.
But don't let that mission statement fool you. The new cell's got a crucial role to play. It'll serve as a liaison between the Pentagon and the Department of Homeland Security, making sure they're synced 24 hours a day, 7 days a week.
Watching monitors, border cameras and sensor feeds, those kinds of things. They'll be helping us in sort of the backroom activities. We've used them previously to help repair roads and vehicles. We've used them to do intelligence and analysis for intelligence. And then aviation is a big part of what we hope they bring.
And perhaps even more importantly, the cell will conduct reconnaissance on the ground and in the air. But with the now new order signed for 4,000 National Guardsmen at the border, things are getting a little sticky at the state level. Some U.S. governors are supporting the move. Arizona's governor tweeted this afternoon he'll be sending around 150 Guard troops to the U.S.-Mexico border, and the state of Texas stepping in also. They've committed already to deploying 250 troops, all within the next 72 hours. And Governor Abbott released a statement saying the plan, quote, reinforces Texas's longstanding commitment to secure our southern border and the rule of law. Arkansas and Mississippi also lent their support to the plan, but other governors, like Kate Brown of Oregon, haven't been as supportive.
There's been absolutely no planning. There's been absolutely no collaboration with the states. This is just something that the president reeled off to distract from the problems that he's having in Washington, D.C.
In polarized times like these, Pete, when it seems likely we're careening towards a total political breakdown, I console myself with the words of Abraham Lincoln, who said, America will never be destroyed from the outside. If we falter and lose our freedoms, it'll probably be because we destroyed ourselves.
Important reminder, and you mentioned it's Oregon, Montana, potentially Nevada have indicated they don't want to participate. Any other sense that other Democratic governors will join this new form of resistance and say, we're not sending troops down to the border wall?
Yeah, it's possible. For example, California, surprisingly, seems to have remained teetering on the edge. They've not necessarily registered their discontent with the plan. So if they went in President Trump's direction, I think it is possible we'd see some other Democratic governors.
Very, very interesting. Because if you go along with the Trump administration and you're a Democratic governor, you are now complicit, as some in the grassroots would see it. Jillian, thank you very much for your time. Appreciate it.
Thanks, Pete.
All right. Well, joining me now for reaction is Dan Crenshaw. He's a Republican running for Congress in a border district in Texas, Texas 2nd District. He's also a decorated former Navy SEAL. We also have Alan Orr, an immigration attorney, here to debate. Gentlemen, thank you both for being here. So, Commander, I'll start with you. We've got a situation here where the president sees an imminent national security threat based on the status of what's happening on our border. Congress will not deliver on a border wall and the funding that he wants, so he says we're sending the troops. Now, we know there are limitations in what they can do at the border, but is this an important step, and will it help stem the tide?
It absolutely is, and he's making good on his promise to the American people. That's what he ran on. He ran on a border wall, and it looks like that border wall, for now, temporarily, will have to be enforced by National Guard. And we have a long history of this in Texas, and frankly, we've been footing the bill. We're on the front lines. We realize this is a national security issue, and we spend our own money to actually put Department of Public Safety troops on the ground to help assist law enforcement. We also put National Guardsmen on the ground regularly to help with counter-drug operations. This is nothing new to us. It's important to us. And frankly, it's time for the federal government to help out.
Alan, so Dan Crenshaw just mentioned the Department of Public Safety in Texas. Based on their statistic from 2011 to 2012, over 245,000 criminal illegals have been arrested in Texas alone. Over 1,000 homicides, 77,000 arrests, assault arrests, 78,000 drug arrests, 7,000 sexual assault arrests. These are illegal aliens in Texas alone arrests between 2011 and 2018. Yet, based on some of the commentary I've seen, you say there isn't a crisis at our border. Would you not acknowledge that we do not, at the federal level, have our hands around the border, and now's the time to address it?
Well, I think there are ways to address the issue of the immigration crisis, and actually the border wall and actually an individual wall and a human wall is not the way to best address the issue. And to best sort of show that this is a man-made crisis is why now. It's been 12 months into this administration, and now all of a sudden after this last fall of Congress, which there was sort of a DACA deal for a wall that he sort of ran away from, that we now want to deploy people to the troops. And it sounds like to me that Texas has it under control for the state of Texas, and that's really what the concern is right now. A little bit about federalism and what the National Guard is in place to do. So if states have the drive to put these individuals in place to do what they do at the national level, then why should the federal government sort of step in?
But
and
Ellen,
say,
why not now? Is immigration not a federal issue? I mean, Texas may have stepped up to do its part, but ultimately this is something that affects all of us and what the federal government should be doing. You say, why now? I ask, why not now if we haven't stemmed the tide and Congress hasn't delivered?
Right, because there's no way to put humans in the way of the danger of standing at the border, one for the National Guard officers, because when you think about National Guard officers, they're part of communities. They're firemen and police officers and teachers that are part of communities that keep them striving, keep them safe. So you're removing people from communities and putting them at the border for a threat that doesn't exist. For what reason, right?
Well,
there's no number, there's no caravan. So sort of show me the statistics of why now 400,000 needed.
The threat that doesn't exist. Dan, I'll go to you as well. I rattled off those statistics.
Yeah.
245,000 criminal illegals since 2011 to 2018 arrested in Texas alone. We're talking homicides, assaults, drugs, sexual assault, over 10,000 for weapons. He says, Alan says, no threat here. Humans can't do it. If not humans and not a wall, how do we ever get our hands around this? And is it not a national security issue? We've got an invasion problem here.
It's a national policy issue. That's
he did say one thing that was absolutely correct, which is that we waited too long. We should have done this before. We should have done this a long time ago. And frankly, it has been done before. The left is losing their minds about this, but it was done by Obama in 2010 and by Bush in 2006. So he's right that we have waited too long. He's also right that it's a dangerous border. And so you can't simultaneously say that the threat doesn't exist while also saying it's a dangerous border and too dangerous for our National Guard. What our National Guard is going to be doing down there is be the eyes and ears for our law enforcement. That is the role they're going to play, and it's a very useful role, and it's a role we need in Texas. Now, the Department of Public Safety here in Texas knows very well that we don't have the manpower to man every single inch of this border. So this is extremely helpful, and we welcome the help. And it is a federal issue. This is an international border. To say that the states have the resources to do it is wrong. It's not true. And Texans are on the front lines, and we're tired of footing the bill.
Alan, as Dan has said, I mean, if you don't have people there, then you've got to have a wall. Now, if you don't want to send the people there, Alan, if you don't believe that the National Guard serves a proper function there, which could be a legitimate argument if that's your true concern, wouldn't you then say, well, now it's time for a border wall? We have to do something.
Actually, absolutely, you would have to do something. And some of the ways to sort of stem this problem without spending the wasted money is to sort of look at technology. Because if people are really just there to sort of look and observe, that's something we do with iPhones. That's something we do with cameras. That's something that we can do with tripwires. There's no need to have a human person there to sort of look and see what's going on. So that argument sort of falls weak there. And sort of the concerns of what could happen, the danger at the border, is that someone could misfire.
iPhones and tripwires are not a wall, are not a beautiful 30-foot border wall that is an actual obstacle that interdicts people trying to come across your border. It's very different.
So the National Guard, if you're understanding the rules of what the National Guard can do at a port of entry, and with regards and sort of if you sort of hear the plan that it doesn't exist, as the governor of Oregon sort of said, that these individuals are not allowed to detain people or be involved as regular police officers. So therefore, they're only there to sort of be in the background, which he said specifically to watch and observe.
We need them to be the eyes and the ears for law enforcement.
Dan, you've been a Navy SEAL. You understand that an obstacle without oversight is not effective. So if you've got eyes and ears on an obstacle, you've got both layers necessary.
And it isn't wrong that we also need electronic surveillance to bolster this effort. I mean, it's a combination of both, okay? With any operation, and to say that this operation wasn't planned or there's no planning, there's no talk about it, of course there is. Okay, this is a very simple military operation. We want to stop people from crossing a border. All right, so you need electronic surveillance, you need people on the ground, and then you need law enforcement in conjunction with that in order to be able to arrest and detain.
Well,
the defense secretary basically just said in your own skit that they were coming up with a plan that would be enforcement that would sort of comply with law. So therefore, there can't be a plan, because if there was a plan, then we'd already have seen that. So these are just a couple of days of action.
Of course, the Pentagon's going to present a plan for this, and these things can. At least we can all agree that we need a border wall, right, Dan?
No, we don't need a border wall. Absolutely,
we can agree on that.
Your time.
And this is a temporary solution until
temporary solution, because Congress cannot get out of their own way. Appreciate both of your time this evening.
All right, and that's why I'm running for Congress.
You got it. We need more Navy SEALs in Congress. I can go for that. Well, the 2018 midterms are just 7 months away. We can fully expect Republicans to campaign on protecting the border and keeping Americans safe from illegal aliens. As for the Democrats, well, several Democratic candidates are actually calling for the abolition of ICE. Don't believe me? Well, Randy Bryce, who's challenging House Speaker Paul Ryan in Wisconsin's 1st District, recently just told the truth and told Newsweek, quote, "I think that ICE should be abolished, and Congress should explore which existing agency could best house immigration and customs enforcement," end quote. Well, joining me now for reaction is David Ward, a former ICE agent who also worked on the border. David, thank you for your time. So Democrats are clinging to the idea that getting rid of ICE is going to get rid of this problem for us. What do you say to that?
You know, we live in a great country where people as vacuous as Bryce could run for a congressional seat and make a statement like he did to abolish ICE. I mean, who does he expect to work in the interior of the United States to go after criminal aliens that have eluded other police departments? Now, one thing about
maybe nobody. I mean, is this not indicative of a viewpoint that says we want a borderless world? Law and order does not matter to us.
But the Democrats will not be happy until immigration is completely abolished. There's no border patrol, there's no border, there's no wall, there's no ICE, there's no nothing, and people come and go as they wish in the United States. Let me tell you something about this, Mr. Bryce, if you're listening. You know, ICE agents arrested over 38,000 criminal aliens. You made a statement that we're out there arresting children and families and stuff. Let me tell you something. ICE is going out specifically for particular targets that are criminal aliens, that have warrants for arrest, that are fugitives from justice, that came to the United States after a reentry, after deportation. That's who's being targeted, and over 38,000 have been arrested. Did you also know that over 2,200 pounds of fentanyl have been seized by ICE?
Yeah, I mean, it's the drug problem, the gang problem, the violence problem, all very, very real. But it's not just this one congressional candidate. In Wisconsin, you've got a congressional candidate in Indiana. You've got one in New York. I mean, this seems to be in the bloodstream of the Democratic Party.
It's the progressive talking points that are doing this. They don't want immigration enforcement. They want this entire country to be a sanctuary for the world's problems. We can't do it. Our citizens are in danger. Look at what happened on 9/11. It was immigrants that did that. They brought down the towers, and since then, illegal aliens and foreign nationals have been killing U.S. citizens since that time, even before then, of course.
And we talk a lot about the border, and rightfully so, because that's where so much of